guys know that Simplicity Patterns just dropped. So I figured it's time for me to sit down and share with you guys the Simplicity drop, but also in the next video, share the Berta drop. Hey everyone, I'm Rochelle and I give you all the pattern sales as well as sew along and behind the scenes of Mean Green and everything in between. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about the Simplicity patterns in this video that just dropped. Now, it was a lot of patterns that just dropped. It was about 63. So I was like, is this the spring summer or is this just spring? It doesn't matter because I'm going to share those patterns that are garment style patterns. So I'm not going to be sharing kids patterns. I'm not going to be sharing apron patterns. I'm not going to be sharing costume patterns. And I'm not going to be sharing accessory patterns with you in this video. So without further ado, to keep this video short, sweet, and give you all the deets and the news that you can use on this video, let's go ahead and get into it. But first, let me tell you, go grab a snack and something to drink. Come on back so we could go ahead and talk about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so this Simplicity spring, summer, I don't know if it's spring, summer, but I'm just gonna say it's spring. So the Simplicity Spring 2025 patterns just dropped yesterday. So today is February 1st. Happy 1st of the month, okay? But it dropped yesterday about 5 p.m. And even though, yes, I could have sat down and did it with you guys yesterday, but I was like, what? Okay, so I decided to sit down on a Saturday morning and give you guys the pattern that just dropped, okay? Now, this collection runs from Simplicity 3064, which is a Mimi G pattern, all the way to Simplicity 3127. Now, in this collection, it's a lot of apron patterns. I talked about that in the 24 worst patterns that dropped for 2025 for the big 4 patterns. You guys wasn't feeling that video, I know. Don't worry about it. Let's not talk about that, okay? Because that was back in 2024. But this collection has a lot of apron patterns, a lot of accessory patterns as well, and a lot of children's patterns as well. We're gonna skip over that and just go ahead and talk about the patterns that drop that are basically apparel garments or whatnot. So let's go ahead and get with the first one, being Mimi G, Simplicity 3064, and all of these are Simplicity patterns. So we're just gonna go ahead and tell the number from here on out, all right? So let's go ahead and get into the first one, Simplicity 3064. So 3064 is a Mimi G's pattern. It is a knit dress in 2 lengths. Now this is a close fitting knit dress pattern in short or long floor length. It also features a racer back, built-in shelf bra, and self-binding around the neckline and the armholes. This pattern is an easy to sew pattern. Now, in terms of, one thing I want to mention is it comes in paper or PDF pattern, just to mention that. So it comes in 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 10 to 18, and the second envelope is 20 to 28 on that second pattern envelope for our plus size ladies, okay? Now, in terms of fabric, for this one, you're going to need knit fabric. That could be your ITY, jersey, rib knit, just to name a few there. You're going to need some lining fabric. I'm going to say interlock knit lining or some spandex compression mesh or some form of kind of like a tricot, just to name a few. In terms of notions, the only thing you're going to need is elastic, okay? So this is a elastic only pattern. Y'all remember when I dropped the video on the no notions and the elastic only patterns that I gave you guys a lot of those. So put this pattern in the elastic only. Now, I'm looking at the line art and I don't see where you're gonna need the elastic, but if I had to say that you're going to need elastic, it's probably in the armholes and I wouldn't say the neckline, but pretty much in the armholes probably. And that elastic is probably to snitch in that armhole for the racer back, all right? But this pattern does remind me of another pattern, and that pattern is New Look 6210. My girl Chris from I Am Craft Therapy, she made this pattern like 2 or 3 times last year in the summertime when I did the Hot Girl Summer for New Look pattern back in June of last year. So this pattern, Mimi G pattern, reminds me of that, but I am definitely going to pick this up because I think this pattern would be great to use on a vacation this summer. Once again, it's 3064. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is 3065. It is a Mrs. and woman dress with tie belt pattern. Now this is a dress in 3 length variations. It have the front button opening, collar band, drop shoulders, front patch pockets, a back yoke, back darts, and sleeve variations. Now for view A, it is a long sleeve with a cuff. View B have the rolled up sleeves with the button taps that you can put for that dress. And then view C is your short sleeve option with the faux back cuff. Now this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 3 pattern envelopes. The first one is 10 to 18. The second is 20 to 28W. And the last pattern is 30 to 38W, which means that this pattern is size inclusive, all right? Now, in terms of fabric, you can use cotton, denim, linen, twill, just to name a few there. You're going to need some interfacing. And then in terms of the notions for view A, you're going to need 11 buttons. View B, you're going to need 13 buttons. And then view C, you're going to need 8 buttons. Now, in terms of the button size, they are all 5/8 of an inch seam allowance for that. But once again, this pattern is Simplicity 3065. This pattern reminds me of several different shirt dress. One thing about it is the patch pockets. So this is similar to a McCall's pattern. I don't know the number, so I'm not going to put it up on the screen. It could be 8139. However, that pattern was used for Sew Your View last year, and I want to say September, October timeframe. But it reminds me of so many patterns. It's just hard to just choose one, all right? But once again, it's 3065. Once again, let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3066. It is a special occasion gown. So this pattern, 3066, is long lined gown. It's close fitting through the bodice with deep V neckline, and it also features a sheer inset. It also features a bow detail and invisible back zipper. Now the skirt has gathers and release pleats at the waist and side seam pockets. View A has a contrast bodice. Now this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 8 to 16, and the second one is 18 to 26 on the second pattern. In terms of fabric, you can use brocade, you can use shantung, satin, just to name a few. You're going to need some lining, so make sure you look at the back of the pattern envelope if you plan on picking up this pattern for the different contrasts that you can use, like your sequin fabric, lace, chiffon, just to name a few there. You're also going to need some lining fabric, so don't skip out on that, or interfacing. Now, in terms of notions, the only thing that you're going to need for this pattern is a 14-inch invisible zipper for that. But I'm actually going to leave this pattern on the shelf. So just to kind of back up just a little bit, I am going to be picking up 3064, 3065, but I'm going to leave 3066 on the shelf, all right? But once again, that's 3066. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3067. This is a Mrs. top, but this is more like a vest style top that I like. It is a button front closure and lining. Now, view B has the contrast on the sides. View C and view D features kind of like a halter vest with the notch lapel, collar, and scallop shawl collar. View B also features a contrast on the side. Now, all views, view A, B, and C, have top stitching details. It's optional if you want to do that. And just remind yourself that these views all have separate pattern pieces for cup sizes. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use denim, linen, suiting fabric, twill, just to name a few there. You're also going to need some lining fabric for the vest, okay? And then you're also going to need some interfacing. Now, in terms of the notions for all views, you're going to need 4 5/8 inch buttons for this one. Now, I like this pattern so much. I am going to be picking this pattern up, 3067. However, this pattern reminds me of the drop that just dropped with Nomi brand, and that's Lindsay from the Stitch Fits pattern. The only difference is the back is closed and her pattern is actually open back. So I am still going to pick up this vest pattern because one thing that I know that I need for my wardrobe, my work wardrobe, because I spend a lot of time at work nowadays. So I need a cohesive work wardrobe that I can wear both inside the office, but also outside of the office. And this vest will fit the bill for that. Once again, it's 3067. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3068, and it's a top and tunic pattern. So with this top and tunic pattern, it features metal snaps at the side, which is different, but I like it. It also features a fold down collar, partial front placket with the snaps, front patch pockets, and pleated sleeves with the snaps at the cuff on the sleeves, okay? So view A has a narrow hem. View C tunic has a contrast collar, placket, and cuffs as well. Those are all contrast. So the contrast is on the collar, the placket, and the cuffs for view C. Now this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's one pattern envelope, I should say, not one size fit all, but it's one pattern envelope, and that pattern envelope is extra small to extra, extra large. Let's talk fabric and notions. So in terms of fabric, chambray, cotton, denim, poplin, just to name a few there, you're going to need some interfacing for the collar, the placket. You know the deal, right? You know the deal, you know the drill. All right, so in terms of notions, for all views, you're going to need some snaps, okay? So the snaps is a 1/2 inch in sides, but you're going to need 13 for view A and 21, woo, Lord child, 21 snaps for view B or view C. That's a lot of snaps, but I am going to be picking up this pattern. This pattern is 3068. I'm picking it up because I don't have nothing similar. I do, but I don't. I'm saying like similar in the terms of adding snaps to the side because I like that opening. Now, can I add a placket to, you know, a shirt that I have or a tunic that I have? Absolutely. But do I feel like drafting it? Absolutely not. So I'm going to pick this pattern up, and I think this would go really well. You know, if I look at a lot of the patterns to put in, to kind of like mix and match and put in another collection, I might do that. So stay tuned for the rest of the year and see what I do with this pattern. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3069, and it's a pair of pants and shorts. So this pattern is a pant and short pattern that have the waistband with belt loops, back darts, and a fly front zipper with a button closure. Of course, if you have a fly front zipper, you're gonna need a button closure. Now, this pattern also features like a barrel leg pants. It also have ankle length and have partial sewn darts at the knees. So at the knees, the darts are going across instead of up and down. I like that detail. With this one, you could also do semi-fitted shorts in mid-thigh length, which is great for me for the summertime. And it also have a front and back pocket. You can do top stitching, which is also optional as well. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 4 to 12, and the other one is 14 to 22 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. In terms of fabric, you have chino, cotton blends, denim, twill, just to name a few. You're going to need some interfacing for this one, pretty much for the waistband. And then for the notion for all views, you're going to need a 7-inch exposed or all-purpose zipper. What that means is don't try to use an invisible zipper to do a fly front. I don't know how many times I have gotten an email about it or a DM about, hey, what kind of zipper do I use? All-purpose. It needs to zip up and down, not the one that you put in that's invisible. So make sure you get an all-purpose or exposed zippers if you are doing a fly front. You're welcome. You're also going to need a button, a 5/8 inch button. Now, I think on the pattern, it actually says 3/4 inch button, but I think I would probably either use 3/4 or 1 inch buttons for these pants. Once again, this pattern is 3069 and I am going to be picking up this pattern. Why? Because I am really feeling bare leg pants. I actually picked up 2 pairs from Target, or AKA Target, last month, in the month of January, before I went to Baltimore for a work trip. So I'm into the bare leg pants. What can I say? All right. But let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3070. It is a skirt pattern. Now, I am actually going to pick this pattern up. And I know you guys are like, Rochelle, you really don't wear skirts. I do, but I don't. I wear skirts when I need to, but I don't have to, right? I like this one for view A because it is a kind of like a denim style skirt with a ruffle. I like that. However, I think that this would be great if I put a button down shirt with it, kind of like what the model is wearing on the front of the envelope. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into the pattern description. So this is a flared skirt pattern in 2 lengths. It have waistband and belt loops, fly front zipper with a button closure. Now it also features front pockets and top stitching details, which is optional. And then view C skirt has contrast godettes or got it, godettes, whatever. You get what I'm saying. This is an average to sew pattern. And in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one, 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, chino, denim twill, just to name a few. You could also use lawn as your lining fabric if you're going to put lining in it. But I'm going to say if you're using a heavier weight fabric, I would not do a lining. That's just me personally. If I'm using a denim, I'm not going to line it. Okay. So, but to each his own, do what you do for yours. All right. You're also going to need some interfacing, lightweight. And then for all views, you're going to need the same thing as the last pattern. You're going to need a 7-inch exposed zipper because you're going to do a fly front. And then you're also going to need 3/4 inch buttons. Now, if you cannot find 3/4 inch button, you can use 5/8 inch, which is harder to find, but I would say 1 inch works perfectly. You're just sizing it up to the button, right? But I would not go over 1 inch and I would not go under 5/8 inch button for your buttonhole. That's just my preference, but do what you do for your stuff, okay? But once again, that pattern number is 3070. I am picking it up. I did say this is a decent collection. Very, very good collection. Let's go ahead and get into the next one, which is Mimi G pattern 3071, which is her blazer that she's been teasing us for months on this one. Like, I think Mimi teased us for like 2 months on this blazer. And I was like, when that pattern collection drop, that's one of the patterns that I'm going to be picking up for sure. Let's go ahead and get into the details. So this is a unisex blazer by Mimi G herself. It's oversized lined blazer pattern with double-breasted closure. It has drop shoulders. Shoulder pads are optional. It also features a 2-piece sleeve, side seam pockets, and hanging loop at the back. Now, the hanging loop is for you to hang your blazer up if you're in an office or on the back of a door, something like that, right? This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, double knit, lightweight denim, linen blends, just to name a few there. Now for me, I would use a suiting fabric that's in my stash already. You are going to need some lining as well. So make sure you have some lining fabric for this blazer. You will need some interfacing as well. Now, in terms of notions, you're going to need 3 3/4 inch buttons. You're also going to need some fleece remnants. Now, I keep fleece on deck just in case I have to make a sleeve heading. Sleeve heading is made with fleece. Now, for this pattern for Mimi G, there will definitely be a sew along for it because Mimi G comes with sew along. So what a sleeve heading is, it goes at the top of your armhole shoulder area. And for this one, it's 6 inches by 2 inches. Now I have a complete video how I did a sleeve heading. I'm going to put that video up on the screen. I think I did that when I did a blazer or a coat. It was one of them. I shared how to install a sleeve heading in that. Mimi G, she will show you how to do it in her video as well, but it's just some scrap fabric that you're gonna cut 6 inches by 2 inches, okay? Now, optional, you can install shoulder pads as well. That's completely up to you. For me, I just tend to not like the shoulder pads, but if I see that it needs it, I will add that. Once again, this is Mimi G pattern 3071, and your girl is definitely picking this up because y'all know I love a good blazer. Let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. Next up is 3072, which is a Mrs. jacket. And this Mrs. jacket is loose fitting line jacket. It has a high stand-up collar, drop shoulders, front inseam pockets, and top stitching, which of course, all the top stitching is optional. I would say if you want your coat or jacket to stand out, I would say definitely do the top stitching. That's what it's there for. Now, view A has a self-bias loop and button closure. That's if you're doing view A. View B has buttons and buttonholes. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you could use wool, fleece, ponte knit, wool blends, just to name a few. You're going to need some lining fabric. Now for me, because I would consider this a lightweight jacket for myself, I would use fleece and then line it with some pretty rayon fabric or some chiffon fabric or something like that, because y'all know I have, some options back here too, okay? Now, for this pattern, in terms of notions, you're going to need 6 7/8 inch buttons. Now, my Joanne's be not having the 7/8 inch buttons, so I would go up to 1 inch for mine. But once again, this pattern is 3072. Your girl is definitely picking this pattern up, all right? Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3073. It is a Mrs. jacket and pant pattern. Now, in terms of this pattern, it's fitted line jacket. It has notch collars, extended shoulder and shoulder pads. It's also 2-piece flared sleeve and princess seaming, okay? Now, in terms of the pants are wide leg, semi-fitted through the hips, and have a side front pocket, fly front zipper, and belt loops for the pants. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 10 to 18, and the second one is 20W to 28W. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, crepe, linen, suiting, just to name a few. Make sure you know that you will need some lining fabric for the jacket. Now, in terms of notions, you're gonna need buttons for the jacket. You also can use shoulder pads for the jacket if you want. Make sure you have some fleece remnant for the sleeve heading, like I just mentioned previously. For the pants, you will need a 7-inch all-purpose or exposed zipper and a button. Preferably that button to be 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? In terms of sizing, okay? But once again, this pattern is 3073. Your girl will be picking this pattern up, all right? Let's go ahead and move over to the next one, being 3074, which is a Mrs. and Miss Petite jacket, shorts, and pants pattern. Now, this pattern is fitted lined cardigan style jacket pattern. It has self-bias fringe, front hook and eye closure, shoulder pads, and a long 2-piece sleeve. Now, it also features bust darts and patch pockets for that jacket. Now, let's talk about the pants and the shorts. So the pants and the shorts are fitted. They are wide leg pants, or you can have the shorts. Now, the waistband is couture with button closure, a fly front zipper, and self-bias fringe as well. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one, and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics first, you could use tweed, linen, just to name a few there. You're gonna need some lining fabrics. You could also use jacquard. You're going to need some interfacing, of course. And then for the notions, you're going to need some shoulder pads, which is optional. 3 sets of medium hook and eyes for that jacket. And then in terms of the pants and the shorts, you're going to need a button and a 7-inch all-purpose or exposed zipper. Now, for this pattern, it does remind me of a McCall's pattern that was done probably about 2 years ago. That pattern is McCall's 8370. There was a complete sew along for this one. I think Ness or the Corny Rainbow did the sew along. If it wasn't her, it was Alyssa from Alyssa Thread did the sew along for this pattern. Super cute pattern. But for me, I know that I probably would not sew it up because I do have the McCall's pattern. But I think for me, this Simplicity pattern 3074, I'm going to leave on the shelf. If I feel like I need it, I will, or I want it, I will get it at a later time. But I think for me, this one will stay on the shelf. But once again, I think it's a cute pattern. I just don't think that I would sew this pattern anytime soon within the next 2-ish years. So I think I'm going to leave this one on the shelf. But once again, this pattern is 3074. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3075, which is a men's shirt pattern. So this is a relaxed fit button-down shirt. It has notch collars, drop shoulder sleeves, sleeve band, top stitching at the hem. And then view A and view C have front pockets, and then view B, as in boy, and view C have the purchase piping. It is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's one pattern envelope, small to extra, extra large. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, linen, just to name a few there, or even shirting, just to name a few there. You're going to need some interfacing. And then in terms of the notions for all views, you're going to need 5 half-inch buttons. And then if you are doing view B or view C, you're going to need some piping, okay? So do not skip out on that piping. Now, this pattern reminds me of a pattern that I did for my husband when I did the Star Wars shirts that I made for everyone to go to Disney one year. I think I did that in 2022. I'll put the video up so you're able to see that. I don't remember the pattern number, but yeah, I'll put it up on the screen so you're able to see. But it reminds me of that pattern. It's relaxed fit there. This one is relaxed fit. I'm not going to pick this pattern up because I actually did a lot of hacking and sizing for it to fit my husband and not be super baggy and super big on him. Even though he wanted it to be more of a relaxed fit, it worked out perfectly. But I'm not going to pick this pattern up. I'm going to leave this pattern on the shelf, all right? Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, but that pattern is 3075. Moving over to the next pattern. Next up is another men's pattern. It's 3076, which is the Mrs. Top, shorts, and pant pattern. Now, this pattern is a pop-over shirt pattern with long or short sleeves. It have half placket, drop shoulders, back yoke, single patch chest pockets with flap and button closure. View A have collar band with side slits at the hem. View B has sleeve and continuous lap opening, cuffs with the button closure, and collar with the collar stand. Now, in terms of the shorts and the pants, they have the front pleats, back darts, waistband with belt loops and tab closure, side pockets, and a back welt pocket. Now, it's a faux back welt pocket, but it has one on the right side of the pants, okay? Now, in terms of the pattern is an average to sew pattern, okay? Now, in terms of the sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 34 to 42, and the second one is 44 to 52. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton, chambray, linen, just to name a few there. You can use, for the pants, you can use some chino, some stretch wovens, linen, just to name a few there. In terms of the notions, for the tops or the shirts, you're going to need some buttons. For view A, you're going to need 5. View B, you're going to need 10, okay? For the shorts or the pants, you're going to need a 7-inch all-purpose zipper and 2 buttons for those pants. Now, like I said, I'm going to leave this one up on the shelf because I don't need it. Like, I don't really sew a lot of things for my husband. So I'm going to leave this one up on the shelf. But once again, this is 3076. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, being 3077. Now, I'm just going to kind of skim through this one because it's a girl's top pattern. I am going to pick this pattern up for my daughter, but I don't think I need to give a full overview detail because this pattern reminds me of another pattern that's McCall's pattern. I don't remember the exact number. I'll put it up on the screen so you're able to see that. I don't really do mommy and me anymore because my daughter's 14. She don't want to look like, she looks like me, but she don't want to look like me. She don't want to twin with me, okay? It does hurt my feelings, but it doesn't hurt my feelings because I wouldn't want to twin with my mama at 15 either, okay? Like, I don't want to twin with her at 15, but this is a girl's top. I think that this one is a really cute Peter Pan collar. I think my daughter would like this pattern. I'm actually going to ask her before I pick this pattern up because she may say, I don't like that. You know how kids are. They will embarrass you, all right? But once again, this pattern is 3077. It is an easy to sew pattern that features long sleeves, sleeve bands, elastic at the wrist, and then you have front button closure all the way down the front. You could have a contrast collar for view B, and then view C is your short sleeve options, okay? But once again, not to get too far into the details of this pattern, because like I said, I don't like to share kids' pattern. It is 3077. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Now, the next patterns, 3078 through 3081 are all children kids patterns. So I'm skipping over all of those and getting over to 3082. So 3082 is a vintage pattern. It's a 1950s Mrs. Afternoon and Evening dress and bolero. So with this one, just to summarize the entire description, not to get confused, it is a full skirted dress that features princess lines that can be pointed up with a ribbon belt. That's a lot to begin with, okay? So it also has strapless or narrow straps that you could put on the dress. Both of the views have boleros, which features kimono sleeves and a soft rolled collar. Now, view A are your short sleeve trimmed with bias. And then it also has 3/4 sleeves in version B. So view B have the 3/4 sleeves with the rolled up cuffs, all right? So it states that it is a easy to sew pattern, okay? Now, most vintage patterns are semi-easy, not all the way easy, but the pattern instructions are from way back in the days. Sometimes they'll update the instructions, but more than likely, it's not. One thing that I noticed about the vintage patterns, it will not say view A and view B. It'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have to figure out what those instructions are. If you have not sewn a vintage pattern, I will definitely say I have done 3, 4 vintage patterns, and they were not bad. But one pattern that I will say I have a complete sew along for this pattern is Simplicity 9818, which is a nice vintage blouse. That gives you all the instructions on how to sew it together, and I would highly encourage you to do that pattern. If you can do buttons and buttonhole, if you know how to put on collars, things like that, if that's something that you're comfortable doing and you have not done a vintage pattern, go to that video, check the video out. That's where I'm going to put it up here so you're able to see it. Check that video out and then decide if that's something that you want to do, because I picked up a lot of vintage patterns and then decided that I am not an actual vintage girly. However, there are some that I really, really like, okay? So I do have a nice, decent amount of vintage patterns, which I will be posting to sell towards the end of this month into March to do a complete pattern and fabric sale. So stay tuned for that so you're able to get whatever it is you want. The only thing that I will say, all of them are new. No dogs, no smoking, and no drinking household, right? The only thing is it will share the pattern season that the pattern came out. Outside of that, it is completely new and clean, okay? Let's get back into 3082. Now, this is a easy to sew pattern. It's in 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope, 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabric. So any type of fabric of your choosing, I'm not going to get too far into the fabrics that you can use. And in terms of the notions, you're going to need some zippers, hook and eye closure, some boning. You're going to need some ribbons for view B if you are doing that dress situation, some side binding, seam binding, for that as well. Now, once again, this is 3082. I am going to skip out on this pattern because I don't have anything coming up that I'm going to need to sew a dress like this, okay? But once again, I think it's cute, 3082. Now, let me pause here and say, what patterns are you going to be picking up? Now, drop the patterns so far that you like in the comment section below what you want to do, and I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see how to do this. I asked the question in the comment section below. Go ahead and hit the reply and reply to me on what patterns you will be picking up, what patterns you like so far, and let me know so we could keep this conversation going, okay? Now, let's get back to regular schedule viewing of 3083. So 3083 is a Mrs. Dress and Jacket pattern. This is a 1950s one-piece dress with jacket, okay? So the dress have a soft waistline pleat and kimono sleeve style for the bodice, all right? The skirt features center and side kick pleats. Now, view A is your high neck with the bow. View B is your low cut with a bow at the neckline as well. So the jacket is a boxy jacket with 3/4 sleeves for view A. And then view B is your shorter sleeve version. All right. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 8 to 16, and the second one is 18 to 26. Now, fabrics and notion. So for the fabrics, you could use pretty much any type of wool, rayon, just to name a few. Cotton jersey would work too if you are doing view A. View B, your cotton and rayons. You're going to need some lining. So for the interfacing, I want to get to this interfacing situation. It's not like your fusible interfacing. You need some hair canvas. Now, I have used hair canvas when I did Simplicity 8844, which is what I did. I actually did a complete sew along for that, which I am going to update that video because you guys are having issues with the lining. So what I want to do is update that video, do a tailored blazer with the build out and everything like I showed in that video, but also do one that's not lined, okay? So one unlined and one completely tailored like that video. I'm going to put the video up here so you're able to see it so you know what I'm talking about. And I'm also going to drop everything, every video that I link that I mentioned will be in the description box below so you're able to click on the video and get directly to that as well. All right, so hair canvas is kind of like a thick, heavy, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's kind of like an interfacing, but it's not like a fusible interfacing, okay? You're going to use that to build structure in your jacket, okay? That's what I use hair canvas for. But it's an interfacing, so make sure you do not skip out on that for any of your jackets, okay? You're going to need it. Let's talk about the notions. So in terms of notions, you're going to need zippers, ribbons, seam binding, just to name a few, and some buttons. Just to name a few of the things you're going to need for this pattern. Now, I'm going to be skipping this pattern, but the pattern number is Simplicity 3083. Let's go ahead and move over to the next vintage pattern, being 3084. Now, 3084 is the Mrs. Cape and Dress pattern. This is a line dress with dart interest, has back zipper, roll collars, patch pockets, short set in sleeve, and optional top stitching with a purchase belt. Now, the cape is lined. It also have optional top stitching, shaped front opening, which fastens with buttons and a buttonhole, or buttonholes, I should just say, okay? Now, this is stated as easy to sew. Now, I do like that cape. Just to be 100% honest with you, In terms of sizing, 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 and 14 to 22 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notion. So for fabrics, cottons, cotton blends, double knits, linen, just to name a few there. You're going to need some lining fabric for that cape. You may need it for the dress too, depending on the fabric that you are using. All right. Now, for the interfacing, it does state that you need lightweight, non-fusible. So basically, your sew-in interfacing would be best for this pattern. All right. In terms of notions, for the dress, you're going to need a 22-inch zipper. Now, you can use exposed, you can use invisible. That's up to you. Decide which one you like and stick with it. For the cape, you're going to need 2 7/8-inch buttons. I would just say use 1-inch buttons and call it a day. All right. But I'm going to be skipping out on this pattern. This pattern is 3084, a vintage pattern. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, 3085. 3085 is Maddie's pattern, Madeline, okay? And this is a corset dress. Now, I'm going to be skipping out on this one, and it's simply because I do not sew bras, panties, or intimate collection. And the reason why I don't is because, honestly, I don't have time to sew it. I barely have time to sew. So to get a kit and sew it up, I may eventually one day sew bra and panties. I have never done that, and that would be something new. I might put it on like a to-do list. I probably won't do it this year, but it may be something that I'll do in the near future. At least one, okay? For that. Now, I think this pattern is super, super cute, so let's go ahead and get into the details. So this pattern is a corset bodice, has knit back, wide elastic waistband, and knit full length skirt with contrast lace fabric godettes. This is basically lingerie, constructed bodice. It has bone-in foam lined bust cups with underwires. I do not like underwires, but to each his own. It also features contrast lace panels and bust cups and velvet band trim accents. The knit banding finishes the back and underarm sections. It extends into a adjustable strap with bra slides and ring. So just make sure you know you're going to need bra slides and ring. And the dress closes with a invisible back zipper and hook and eye tape. Just so you know, it includes bust cups ranging from A to J cup. So make sure you see the back of the envelope for more information from Madeline or Maddie. All right. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, extra small to extra large. And the second one is 1X to 5X. So very, very, very much so size inclusive. Now, instead of me getting into the fabrics and the notions, I'm going to definitely say if you are picking up this pattern, make sure you look at the back of the pattern envelope so you know what fabrics and notions to use. Now, I'll put it up here so you're able to see that, but make sure you are looking at the back of the envelope because I have not sewn a bra, panties, or any lingerie with any commercial pattern thus far. However, I do have 2 to 3 of Maddie's patterns when she first dropped way back in probably like 2016 when she first did her first patterns in the 8200s, right? A series for simplicity. I picked up those patterns and I still haven't gotten around to it, all right? This was back when Sew It Academy was like course number 10. I know Mimi G switched up Sew It Academy and everything. So if you are a Sew It Academy member, kudos to you if you do one of those courses by Maddie, okay? But once again, it's 3085. I'm going to leave it up on the shelf. But let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is 3086. Now, I'm going to be very brief with this pattern, 3086, because it's a back pattern. And the only reason why I'm stating this pattern, even though I said I'm not going to be talking about accessory patterns, kids patterns, costume patterns, all of that stuff, is simply because this pattern is great for beginners. It's a bag pattern. It's great for beginners, and it's great if you have some fat quarters, okay? You can use the fat quarters and color block this pattern to perfection. Now, I'm going to put it up on the screen so you're able to see this. as well instead of just talking about it. Let me show you guys exactly what it is. So this pattern is an easy to sew lined patchwork bag. It's perfect for stash busting or fat quarters like I just mentioned. So the tote comes in 3 different lengths. It have webbing handles and base insert for stability, okay? The largest and smallest tote have outer patch pockets for smaller items, belt bag and crossbody purses with bias tape bound edges, and have a front zipper. So it also have like an asymmetrical patch pocket front and adjustable webbing straps. And the belt bag have like a parachute clip closure as well. So make sure you see the back of the pattern envelope for more information on this pattern. It is an easy to sew pattern, and with any bag pattern, it's a one size fit all. In terms of fabric, I'm just going to say any type of fabric of your choosing. Make sure you get some zippers for your notion. Now, back when I was doing Sew What series, I did a pattern for a bag. I think that pattern number was Simplicity 822. No. 8. I don't even know the pattern number. I think it was Simplicity 1328 or something similar. I'm going to put that up on the screen so you're able to see that. And what I did with that is I drafted a recessed zipper because I don't want all my stuff to be flying out. I would do the same thing for this bag. Make sure I do a recessed zipper to where it's completely closed. You can look at that video on how I did the recessed zipper if you're interested in doing a recessed zipper to keep your tote bag closed instead of just a magnetic snap to keep it closed. I want it completely closed and nothing flying out. But I will be picking up this pattern. 3086 is that pattern number. Let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. So the next pattern's 3087, 8889. So 3087 all the way to 3094. I'm not going to be sharing those patterns because those are all accessory patterns. And to keep this video short, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the next pattern, which is 3095. It is a costume pattern. It's a corset pattern. So I'm not going to share that pattern either. But let's go ahead and talk about the next one, 3096, because we're back to dresses, okay? So this pattern is a Mrs. and Women dress pattern with length and sleeve variations. This pattern is a fit and flare dress. It have a V-neck, gathers at the skirt, side pockets, narrow hem, and an invisible back zipper. Now, view A and B have drop shoulders, bubble sleeves, and self-ties insert into back darts. So this has back darts, okay? Now, view D, as in David, dress is sleeveless armhole finished with your bias tape. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 10 to 18 on the first one, 20 to 28 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, cotton blends, poplin, just to name a few. I feel like sheer sucker would be a good one as well to use. You're going to need lining, which is optional, and lightweight fusible interfacing. In terms of notions, you're going to need a 24-inch invisible zipper. If you are doing the missus sizes, if you are doing a woman's size, which would be your 20 to 28W, you're going to need a 26-inch invisible zipper. Now, if you're doing view C, which is your sleeveless option, you're going to need a pack of single fold bias tape, all right? But once again, this pattern is 3096. Your girl is definitely picking this pattern up, all right? Let's go ahead and move over to the next one, 3097. This is a missus dress with length and sleeve variations. I'm going to leave this one on the shelf because I just don't feel like I would wear it. Even though I feel like it's cute, I just don't feel like I would wear it, all right? But let's go ahead and get into the details. This is a fit and flare dress. It has a V-neck, side seam pockets, and a center back zipper closure. View A and View B have short fold back sleeves and an angled flap detail applied to the top of the pocket. Now, View C dress is also sleeveless. Okay, that's your sleeveless option. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16, and then 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics, broadcloth, gabardine, poplin, just to name a few. In terms of notions, you're going to need a 22-inch invisible zipper and a pack of single fold bias tape if you are doing A or B. If you're doing C, you're going to need a 22-inch zipper only. All right. But once again, this is 3097. Like I said, I'm going to leave this one on the shelf. All right. But let's go ahead and move into the next pattern, which is 3098. So 3098 is a misses dress pattern with sleeve and length variation. Now this will be great to use for hashtag battle of the shirt dress, which will be dropping very, very soon. Announcement video coming. So stay tuned for that. But this is a button front dress. It have gathered skirts with side seam pockets. View A dress has the pointed collars and the short sleeves with the sleeve band. View B and View C dress are collarless. That means it has no collar. It has a round collar, right? And have long sleeves with elastic at the wrist. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use your cottons, linen, poplin, shirting, just to name a few. Now, View C has that vertical stripes. Now, do you have to use vertical stripes? Absolutely not. I feel like you could do some horizontally, which means up and down, and then some vertically, which is left and right, if you are doing a striped fabric. Now, for me, I could color block and just do polka dot on polka dot on polka dot, okay? But that's completely up to you. In terms of notions, you're going to need 14 half-inch buttons for View A or View B. View C, you're going to need 16 buttons. So just make sure you look at that back of the pattern envelope. Now, I am going to be picking this pattern up, but this pattern reminds me of a McCall's pattern back in the days. I haven't gotten around to sewing this pattern, but I may eventually. The pattern that it reminds me of is McCall 7834. Mimi G have done this pattern like 2 or 3 times and look fabulous in it. But I think that this pattern would be great. Both patterns look great. But once again, I am going to be picking this pattern up. It's 3098. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3099. It is a misses dress in 2 lengths with detachable 3D flower. Now, this dress reminds me of a McCall's pattern from back in the day. It's in the 6900. I think it's 6920 or something similar. I'm going to try to find it and put it up on the screen for you because it may be wrong in terms of the pattern number. I can see it in my brain, but I don't know if that number is exactly correct because I look at these patterns, I'm like, it reminds me of this, but sometimes the pattern number be wrong. I'm just gonna say that, all right? But I'm telling you, I don't know the exact pattern number for this one. I'm not 100% sure. That's why I said I'm gonna look it up, all right? But this one is a 1-shoulder dress. It has a detachable flower. It's close fitting, lined, and have an invisible side seam zipper. Now you can move that side zipper to the back if you prefer that, but make sure you do that before you cut your fabric. Now the dress can be worn with or without the 3D flower because the 3D flower is detachable. View B has a left side slit. And then Brittany J. Jones also tell you, I think it's Brittany that's doing the sew along for how to do the detachable 3D zipper. The 3D flower. You can see that video on simplicity.com, okay? But it is an average to sew pattern. Let's talk about sizing. So it's 2 pattern envelopes, 4 to 12, and then 12 to 20 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of the fabrics, crepe, linen, PK, satin, just to name a few. In terms of the notions, you're gonna need a 14-inch invisible zipper for View A or View B. View C, which is the detachable flower, you're gonna need 3 1-inch bar pins, okay? So once again, that's 3099. Let's go ahead and move over to the next one. 3100. Excuse me. Let's say that one more time for the people in the back and for Rochelle who just screwed up, okay? So the next pattern is 3100. And this pattern is a Mrs. Special Occasion dress and slip pattern. Now this dress is an unlined sleeveless dress. It has stand-up collar extended into tight ends at the back. It also features front neckline gathers, bias armhole facing, and slit opening at the back of the neck. So it's close fitting, unlined slip, has the invisible side seam zipper closure there as well. The slip is more like a slip dress to me. It reminds me of New Look 6653. I did a complete live for that one as well. But this is a average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, charmeuse, chiffon, organza, just to name a few for view A or view B. For the slip dress, which is view C, crepe back satins or crepe works best for that. In terms of view A and view B, this could be considered a no notion pattern, but it does say that you're going to need 1 hook and eye closure for view A and view B. Now, view C, the slip dress, you're going to need a 14-inch invisible zipper for that one. This pattern is 3100. And of course, it reminds me of another pattern I have already in my stash. That pattern is Vogue 1802 for that one. And here's the thing, Vogue 1802 is I want to say it's out of print, but it's not out of print. It's just, you can't pick it up in Joann's. I've been looking for this pattern from a good friend of mine that stays in Jamaica, and I cannot find this pattern in Joann's. And then on simplicity.com, it was only I think this pattern was only in PDF. So I still have not been able to pick this pattern up, but this may be a sign to pick up 3100 from my good friend in Jamaica. We'll see if she wants this pattern. All right. But once again, this is very similar to Vogue 1802. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Next up is 3101 or 3101. It is a Mr. shirt with another detachable 3D flower. There is a complete sew along on how to do the 3D flower. It is detachable, but this pattern is a loose fitting button down shirt. It has pointed collars, neckband, long sleeves with button closure and a shaped hem. Just remind yourself that the flowers can be detachable. I like that. I'm going to pick it up. Do I need this pattern? Absolutely not, because I have a lot of button down shirt patterns, but I want it, so I'm going to get it. It is an average to sew pattern. 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. In terms of fabric, chambray, cotton shirting, linen, poplin, just to name a few. In terms of notions, for view A, you're going to need 11 half-inch buttons. View B, you're going to need 6 1-inch bar pins. That's for the detachable flowers, okay? And then view C, also detachable flowers. You're going to need 3 1-inch bar pins for that one as well. Now, once again, this pattern is 3101. I'm going to be picking this pattern up. I like the 3D flowers that's detachable. You can wear it with or without, depending on if you're going to work or not. And y'all know your girl needs lots of button down shirts, which is part of hashtag Battle of the Shirt Dress, which I will be announcing very, very soon. Just stay tuned for that. All right. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, because this video is tending to be a little longer than what I expected, but it's a lot of patterns to get through. Next up is 3102. Now, 3102 is a Mr. shirt with sleeve variations. This is a denim button front shirt with V-neck line, has seam details and sleeve variations. Now, view A has sleeveless armholes finished with bias tape. View B shirt has short sleeves. View C has long sleeve with button closure. Now, this is an easy to sew pattern. Easy to sew, okay? Now, in terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use cotton blends, denim, linen, twill, just to name a few. In terms of notions, it's very simple. You're going to need buttons on buttons on buttons. And then if you're you are doing view A, the sleeveless option, you're going to need 1 pack of 1/2 inch single fold bias tape, okay? So it's simple. Get some buttons, all right? And if you're doing the sleeveless option, get single fold bias tape. You're welcome. All right, but that pattern number is 3102. Let's move over to the next one, 3103. So 3103 is the missus top with sleeve variations as well. This pattern is fitted funnel neck top. It has invisible back zipper. View A is bias cut, which means that this pattern will be cut on the bias. View A and view B have decorative button details. And then view C has your long sleeves with button cuffs and continuous lap opening because you have buttons on that cuff. All right. So most of the time, not every time, but a lot of the buttons that's long sleeve with a button cuff comes with a continuous lap. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 4 to 12 on the first one and 14 to 22 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of the fabrics, you can use crepe, linen blends, medium weight fabrics like your rayon blends, just to name a few there. In terms of notions for view A and view B, you're gonna need a 22-inch invisible zipper and 2 7/8-inch buttons. Now for view C, you're gonna need 4 5/8-inch buttons. It does not, now here's the thing. It doesn't tell you that you're gonna need a zipper for view C, but I'm gonna say, you're gonna need a zipper. They just accidentally left it off of the back of the pattern envelope. It happens sometime. Don't shoot them for it. Just hit up Simplicity and be like, yeah, y'all left off the zipper for this one, but people's moving fast to get these things dropped, so you're gonna need a zipper for view C as well, all right? You're welcome. But once again, this pattern is 3103. Let's go ahead and move, well, wait. This pattern reminds me of 2 patterns. So the first pattern that it reminds me of is Simplicity 9470 for that pattern. Now, the reason why it reminds me of that pattern is because of the way that it's shaped. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. But it also reminds me of a pattern that I did a sew along for, similar, but not the same. It's Simplicity 9705. I have a complete sew along for that pattern on the channel. I'll put it up here so you're able to see it. The link to the video will be in the description box below, so make sure you check that out after this video. All right. But once again, that's 3103. Let's move over to the next pattern. Another detachable 3D flower pattern is 3104, which is a skirt pattern. Let's talk about it. So this pattern is a wrap skirt. In 2 lengths, it have a detachable 3D flower and frayed edges. Now the wrap skirt features kind of like it's fitted through the hips. It also features a couture waistband, button closure, and side seam pockets, okay? Now, the detachable flower, there is a sew along for that on the Simplicity website, so check that out. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes. The first envelope is 8 to 16, and the second one is 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabrics for A, B, and D, as in David, all views, right? You can use denim, linen, or tweed. View C, you can use crepe, gabardine, suiting, just to name a few. Now for this pattern, view A, B, and C, you're going to need 3 7/8-inch buttons. And then view D, which is the flower, the detachable flower, you're going to need 1 1-inch bar pen. So just make sure you have that. Now for this pattern, I'm up on the fence if I'm gonna pick this pattern up or not. I'll probably leave it on the shelf because I don't feel like I need a lot of skirt pattern, but you never know. But once again, this pattern is 3104. Let's move over to the next pattern. Being a pair of pants. We are in the pants patterns now. It's 3105. So this pattern is a missus shorts and pants pattern. The pattern, it features pull-on shorts and pants. It have the elastic waist, inverted pleats, and side seam pockets. So view A and view B have back patch pockets too, which is optional if you won't add pockets, okay? Now this is an easy to sew pattern. Now this pattern comes in 1 pattern size envelope extra small to extra, extra large on that pattern, okay? Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of the fabric, you have cotton blends, crepe, lightweight twill, or linen, just to name a few. In terms of notions, the only notion you're gonna need is elastic. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. You're just gonna need elastic for this pattern. Once again, your girl is definitely picking this pattern up. It's 3105. You're welcome. Let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. Next pattern, another great pattern that I'm going to be picking up. This pattern right here is 3106. Now this pattern is a Mrs. Short and pant pattern with tied belt. So this pattern features wide leg pants and shorts. It have front box pleats, back darts, side pockets, waistband with belt loops. Now this pattern is a fly front zipper and belt closure, okay? So just because you can't see it, this is not a pull-on one with elastic. You're going to have to do a fly front zipper and belt closure for this pattern. Now the pants have length and hem variations. View A and View B have the tie belt and back patch pockets with the flaps at the back, okay? The pockets are optional. You do not have to have ass pockets if you don't want to, but that's up to you. Now, this is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one and 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, cotton blends, linen, poplin, twill, just to name a few there. In terms of notions, you're going to need a 7-inch all-purpose or exposed zipper for that fly front that we already been talking about. You're also going to need buttons, okay? So in terms of buttons for View A and View C, you're going to need 1. But if you do View B, because it has like that cargo style on the side thigh area, you're going to need 5 of those, all right? I like this pattern. I'm going to be picking it up. This pattern is 3106. Now, of course, this pattern reminds me of another pattern that I have in my stash. That pattern number is, of course, McCall 7907. I have not done that pattern, but I do have this nice, gorgeous carved fabric that I would love to use for the McCall 7907 and then take a color out of that carved print and do this pattern, right, with just solid. What's your thought? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. Next up, another pattern that your girl is going to be picking up. I think it's only been like 3 patterns that's like I'm not going to pick up so far. Outside of the like costumes and the costumes, the children's patterns, I'm not picking those up. But this is a good collection. Let's talk about 3107. So 3107 is the Mrs. Jacket and Pant pattern. The jacket is a double-breasted jacket pattern that has shoulder flang, front pockets with flaps and elastic at the sleeves and the hem. Now the pants are crop pants. It have front pleats, have a waistband. It also features belt loops, fly front zipper, and button closure. All right, that's what you get for going too fast. All right. Now, this is an average to sew pattern in terms of sizing. 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first one and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabric to notions. So in terms of fabric, cotton blends, gabardine, twill, just to name a few. In terms of the notions, View A, which is the jacket, you're going to need elastic and buttons. And then View B, you're going to need a 7-inch all-purpose exposed zipper and a button for that button closure. I like this pattern. I am definitely picking up this pattern. I definitely want to sew this pattern, hopefully this spring. If not this spring, definitely by the fall. This pattern has to be made this year. Wish me luck, y'all. We're going to have to dive into like my next couple of collections that I'm thinking about. These new patterns have to be in there, okay? Should I wait until New Pattern November, hosted by my girl Aronica from McCall, or should I just sew it now? Let me know also in the comment section below. You're welcome. There's going to be questions there, so make sure you open it, hit the reply button, and let me know. All my questions are going to be in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Let me know. Let's go ahead and get over to the next pattern. Next one is 3108. And this is the Mrs. Vest skirt and pant pattern by American Sewing Guild. Now, this pattern I'm definitely going to be picking up for the vest and the pants. I don't really too much care about the skirt, but I can make that 3-piece, okay? Now, this is a semi-fitted unlined vest. It has princess seam, front button opening, and flaps for the vest. Now, the pants and the skirt are flared gored skirt. Now, the skirt is a flared gored skirt with stitching hem. View B and View C have the contoured waistband, which is the skirt and the pants. It also features invisible side zipper and stitched hem. Now, the pants are wide leg pants. It's fitted through the hips and have that side front pocket, all right? Now, this pattern is a average sew pattern. In terms of sizing, 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use denim, linen, twill, tweed, whatever you want to use, really. I'm just going to say any type of woven fabrics of your choosing. In terms of notions, view A, the vest, you need 5 7/8" buttons. And then the skirt and the pants, you're going to need a 7" invisible. Yes, I said it, invisible zipper, all right? But I like this pattern. I'm going to be picking it up. Once again, it's 3108. Now, the next pattern is 3109. It's a rope pattern. It's easy to sew. I'm not going to get into the details of this one because I feel like we see a lot of rope patterns, or this one featured a lot of apron patterns, but we either see a lot of loungewear or apron patterns with every drop. I'm going to spare you some details of this one. I may or may not pick this one up, just to be 100% honest, because honestly, I do wear robes in the wintertime, but I mean, I don't necessarily wear them all the time. So I might skip out on this pattern, but I did want to mention that this pattern is 3109. It is going to be up on the screen, so you're able to see that if you're interested in this pattern. Once again, it's 3109. Moving over to the next pattern, I will be picking this up because I like the style of this pocket. The next pattern is 3110, a men's shirt, shorts, and pant pattern. It's a relaxed fit shirt, have pointed collars, have zip front opening, which is what I'm here for. This is why I'm picking this pattern up. Now, it also features flat patch pockets with zipper details and drop shoulders, back yoke, and sleeve variations. Now, the pants and the shorts are pull-on shorts and pants that have elastic waistband, front ties, and front and back pockets. Now, this would be a cool cabana set. You could, I mean, Norris Dontaford, when him and Mimi, when they did He Sew, She Sew way back in the days, right before they got married. So this must have been about 6-7 years ago. Norris did this cabana set in this floral. Amazing. Now I could see doing this set in just a complete solid and have it for the summertime and have zippers to put my phone in, my ID in, and don't have to carry a purse. I can see it for that. Now, this is a men's pattern, so I'm going to have to do some sizing up and shaping in order to fit the bootay for a woman. If you know, you know, right? So let's go ahead and get into this. Is an average to sew pattern. Let's talk sizing. So in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 34 to 42 on the first one and 44 to 52 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So I'm just going to put it very, very easy. In terms of fabric, any type of woven fabric of your choosing. In terms of notions, you're going to need zippers and buttons, period, point blank, and some elastic for the shorts and the pants. That's all you're going to need for this pattern. Once again, that pattern number is 3110. Let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. We are almost done, y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging with me. I know it's just so many patterns to get through, and I'm trying to give you all the details. So hang on with me for about 4 more patterns. Let's go ahead and get into the next one, being 3111. So this pattern is a unisex jacket, short, and pant pattern. So the jacket is a unisex pattern with front zipper opening. It has collar, drop shoulder, elastic at the cuff, and side seam pockets. Now, the shorts and the pants are pull-on pants and shorts that have elastic at the waist. It also have an adjustable front tie, back darts, and side seam pockets, okay? You see the pants have side seam zipper at the ankles, which you didn't know unless you was reading those details, all right? Now, it is an easy to sew pattern. Let's talk sizing. So this pattern is a 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large on that pattern. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, you can use nylon blend, you can use ripstop, you can use polyester blend, cotton blends, just to name a few there. Now, in terms of notions, you're going to need separating zippers for the jacket, at least 30 inches in length. You're also going to need some elastic. Now, for the shorts and the pants, you're going to also need elastic for that. You're going to also need some twill tape and 2 7-inch zippers for the pants. That's the zippers at the ankle area, all right? Now, I am going to be picking this pattern up. This pattern is 3111. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the next one. Now, 3113 is a kid's pattern. I am not picking that pattern up, even though I think it would be a great pattern for my son. We're not picking that pattern up. But I do want to mention 3114 because my daughter has been asking me for a trench coat for many, many years, ever since I sewn up Butterick 6331, which is a blue trench coat that you guys love, okay? The pattern is out of print. So the best pattern there's a couple of patterns that you can use for trench coat, which I have a complete video on coats and jacket and trench coats. I'll put it up here so you're able to see it. Go to that video after this video. I'll drop it in the description box below so you're able to get to that video. Just make sure, just click them all when you're done with this video. But I will be picking up 3114, which is a trench coat for a girl or in 3 lengths, okay? So I'll be picking that up for my daughter. But let's go ahead and move over from 3114 into the next pattern. So the next pattern is a vintage pattern, 3115. It is a Mrs. 2-piece play suit and 2 lengths and a skirt. Now, to kind of paraphrase this one, it's a lot, and not to get you guys sidetracked, it's a 2-piece play suit and 2 lengths, and it has a sleeveless top, which can be worn with or without shoulder straps. And the skirt is gathered. So they have, like I mentioned before, style 1, style 2. So style 1 features knee-length pants and top stitch trim, okay? Now, the short pants, which is style number 2, are cuffed. It's more like shorts, okay? So number 1, it's weird because number 1 is like top and pants, and then number 2 is the top and the shorts. But you can have kind of like an overskirt as well. If you know, you know. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, there's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and 16 to 24 on that second pattern envelope. Now, I am going to pick up this pattern. That's why I said there are some vintage patterns that I like. So I am going to be picking up this pattern. But in terms of fabrics, any type of woven fabric of your choosing, your cottons, denim, linen, rayon, just to name a few. You can pick up some striped fabric if you choose to. In terms of notions, you're going to need some buttons. You're going to need a zipper. You're going to, you're going to need some boning for, the top portion. So yeah, you're going to need quite a bit of things for notions for that. Once again, this pattern is 3115. I'm picking it up. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which is 3116. So 3116 is a bolero suit and bodice pattern. Now, I do like the bolero suit. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up just for that, but let's get into the pattern. So this is a front button closure for the pattern. It's bolero suit and bodice. So view A is a front button closure, shoulder strap style fitted bodice. So the 4 gourd skirts are flared with soft pleats at the front waistline. The flared back bolero has a front button closure and satin sleeve. So view 1, which is a bolero jacket, okay? It features long sleeve and a pointed collar. View 2, which is also a bolero, it features collar, cuffs, and belt, and you can use contrast fabrics for the collar and these cuffs, okay? Now, the sleeves are 3/4 length sleeves. For that, it is an average to sew pattern for this entire pattern. Now, in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16, and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics and notions. So in terms of fabric, I'm just going to say any type of woven fabrics of your choosing for that. In terms of notions, you're going to need zippers, you're going to need buttons, you can use shoulder pads for the bolero, you're going to need some ribbon, and you're going to need a belt buckle, okay? But nonetheless, 3116. I'm going to leave this one on the shelf because I don't think I need this one. I don't want to pick this pattern up just for the bolero when I could literally take a top pattern, hack it, and make my own bolero. If you know, you know. Yes, your girl know how to draft, okay? Let's go ahead and get into the last pattern. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me for over an hour at this point. I appreciate you. But let's get into this last pattern because I know I want to give you back your day. You're welcome. Next pattern and last pattern is 3118, a Madeline pattern, okay? This is a crop corset and a skirt pattern. Let's get into the details. So this is a line bone crop corset pattern. It has shoulder straps with back grommets, ribbons, and cord attachment. So it also features front lacing and self fabric bias bound edges. So the mini length pleated skirt has couture waistband. Now let me back up a second. So you have the corset and then you have a mini pleated skirt, okay? So the mini length pleated skirt has the couture waistband. It features side seam zipper and an asymmetrical front, revealing contrast skirt, okay? So I like that. Anyway, make sure you look at the back of the pattern envelope for more information on this. Now, it is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 on the first pattern envelope and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Fabrics and notions time, okay? So in terms of fabric, any type of woven fabrics, which would be your gingham, your denim, your linen, just to name a few. Make sure you have interlining, and that interlining needs to be cotton duck for your inner lining. Interfacing, you're going to need. In terms of notions, you're going to need boning, you're going to need some eyelet, you're going to need ribbons, you're going to need a invisible zipper if you are doing the skirt. So you're going to need quite of notions for this one, okay? Make sure you look at the back of the pattern envelope so you are fully equipped and ready to tackle this pattern. Once again, this pattern is Simplicity 3118. All right, those are all 63 patterns that dropped. I know you guys are like, Rochelle, this is a long video, okay? I know, and I tried to get through it as quickly as possible, but you guys know how I am. I want to give you all the detail and provide value to you in each and every one of my videos. All right, you guys, I'm going to give you back your day because I know you want it, okay? Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If this video was educational, inspiring, and fun, you guys know what to do. Give your girl 2 thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Watch this video next where I am going to be sharing with you guys batch cutting video of the first 2 shirt dresses, or I should just say the first 2 shirts in hashtag battle of the shirt or shirt dresses, or you can watch this video over here. And that video is going to be talking about hashtag make 9 2025, okay? And all the participants that's going to be participating in hashtag make 5 2025. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy. Until next time. Make sure you stay tuned for the Berta drop for spring 2025, which will be my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Working a 9 to 5, I had to go and feed the guys. Nobody did it right, I had to show them how to grind. I had to be the